Okay, we're just gonna go over what's in the small parts box. I think you should open it first so you can just see. Okay, some of you might have this because it was funny. So, anyways, okay, this is the IMU. This is the M3 screws for mounting the IMU. This is the low voltage cutoff regulator. This has two different types of Wacos in it. These ones for the power, and then these ones for the hall sensor wires. This is the bag of M6 hardware, so 4 M16 nuts and 4 M6 bolts. And then the correlated part there is this bag of hardware, but this is M4 hardware. So this has more things in it, as you can see, and smaller, 4 millimeters. There should be 10 in your bag of each nut and bolt. SD card, 3 Allen keys, each a different size. It should be 2.5 millimeter, 3 millimeter, and 5 millimeter. Microphone. Mounting for the long extrusion to the short base extrusion. This is M8 bolts for mounting the gas struts. 3 millimeter screwdriver. The other screwdriver should be in the main kit part. Shorter power wire for the ODrive. The longer one should be in the main box. And then the last thing is the long power wire, the lone red wire for the e-stop. And so that's everything in the small parts box. And yeah. Okay, the first step is to get these parts and to mount the motor onto the motor mount, which is 3D printed. It is not symmetrical. There is a side that you need to face towards the face of the motor. So the side with the lip goes on the motor, because when you put it in with the motor on it, it stops this part from going too far. This little lip stops it. So if you just take it out, the key part here is that the motors have a flat on them, like that is a certain size, and that's how we keep them, well, that's how we just basically make sure they don't spin in place. And so this matches that flat. So make sure that you're putting the lip on the right side, and this part is designed so that these fingers bend a little bit to make it easier. And you take the motor with the flat side and you point it to the flat side on the 3D print, and you make sure that you are within sort of the flat parts like that, right in the center, like that, so you can see a little tiny bit there, and that the flat is in fact flat with the part, and then you can just sort of click it in. So now that's in. This lip is on the side of the motor face here, and you can tell that it's in correctly by just doing a little check here that the motor is sort of like inset on that plastic part. So that's correctly in. The next step is to take your hose clamp and your larger screwdriver and unscrew the hose clamp all the way so that it kind of comes loose like that, and then take it and sort of like put it around the bottom face here, or like the inner one, like that. And then what you want to do is put the hose clamp back in. So you take the end and you push it in, you push it in, I'm trying to get a good view. You push it back in the end of the hose clamp, and you gotta like screw it a bit to get it to go in so that it goes in properly. And then you can take your screwdriver and get it going. Oops, it's kind of hard to do this on the film. I'll do it with my hand. So I'm just kind of getting it started. So it's gone back in, and then you can see it's starting to stick out right there. So now you want this to be at like basically this angle, because you want the part right after to deform. So make sure your hose clamp is oriented like this, where this is sort of like just over the motor. And then take your screwdriver and tighten your hose clamp, but not super duper hard. Just tighten it enough to stay on, or else when we put this part into the extrusion, it won't go in. And you also might break the print. So just tighten it enough for it to stay on. As you can see, it's not like super tight, like I can move it, but it's on. And you want to do the same thing for the other hose clamp. This one can be a bit easier. You don't have to loosen it all the way so that it comes out. You can just sort of loosen it a bit and then just put it through the wires because they're on the outside, and then just put it over the part. So both hose clamps, and I'm gonna do the same thing to this one, where I'm going to tighten it just like enough to stay on. And make sure that I am adjusting this back to the same point that I mentioned, like that. Doesn't have to be exact, just roughly so that it's just over the hump. And then, yeah, if you hear clicking on the 3D print, you should probably stop tightening. You don't want to break it. So this is probably good. It's not, again, super tight. You can see it's not like super tight, but it's on enough not to just like fall off. So that's how you get one motor in its mount. And again, the motor should be like inset onto the plastic a bit because it's on the flat. So I'm going to quickly do the same to the other one here. So we're going to get this and the motor and the flat on this side, and line them up. So that's the flat, that's like that. We are gonna just do a quick, okay, little intermission that I'm filming after the fact. Apparently it's not obvious on some terms here, so, okay, not that. So your connection, okay, let me just focus. Okay, it needs, this is wrong. This is wrong because this is flat, like this, it's not like flat here, right? Like this, this part, this stem is on an angle like this. So it's not right. And I can show you, if I had these like hand loose, just so I could show you. But I can show you, if I take this off, that, okay, this is the flat. See this flat thing? It's like literally, it's like literally they cut a flat onto the round part of the motor. You see that? Like that is the flat on the stem. So this is the stem, flat. That needs to press up on, oops, that needs to go on this flat part right here so that the motor doesn't rotate like arbitrarily. Okay, and then the way that you do that is on this flat, there's like a ridge on this side and a ridge on this side. And so this width here should be just bigger than the width of this thing, so that when you put it in, so I'm gonna put this flat, I'm gonna put it in between, see that? I'm gonna put it in between, and then if I press it in, it should be exactly flat. So you can know if you did it wrong, if you press, and it's on an angle like that, you see this, this is closer to the top and this is farther, it's not in properly, and then there's a big gap here. So you wanna you want to put it in properly like that, and then this side will overhang a bit because it's now like whatever, that's the ridge, and then that's correct. Right? It should be like inset and exactly straight, and then you can put your hose clamps on. So you can see that didn't go in properly, and it's just because it's too far to this side. So you can just like sort of push it with your hands a bit, and then there you go, and then it's clicked in. So, and then unscrew this. And you want to keep this thing in here. This just comes out like this. I'm gonna put it back around again like this, and yeah, so I'm gonna try and get that in. It's a little bit tricky, but if you just sort of get it to be at the right angle, it's kind of hard to show. You like gotta push it. What's the right angle here? Okay, you can see probably that. So you push it into that, and then you turn, and then it'll catch it and start going in. And then once it's like that, it's loose. So I'm going to tighten it with the screwdriver. And make sure it's not like, this is not good. You want it to be nice and flat and straight. And then just a little bit more so it stays on, not too tight. Just like, I'm just going with like 2 fingers like that. So that's good. Next one. Loosen. Put it over the wires, and then onto this, and this same thing. I'm just going to tighten it. And make sure it's in a good spot. That's fine. Okay, so now they're tight, just enough to stay on. They're both good. You take the last part here, which is the extrusion, and do one at a time. So you don't want to break this part. It's a 3D print, so it can break. So just kind of hold this with your palm of your hand like that, and then take the extrusion and just sort of make sure it's nice and level. It won't go in. It's a very tight fit. If you're like this a little bit like that, it won't go in very well. So just sort of make sure it's nice and straight, and then it should just slide in, and you can sort of look in between the wheel there to see if it's at the end. So it's not, so I'm gonna keep pushing, and there you go. It went all the way to the end. You can see it's hit up against the lip that we mentioned. Oh, it's hard to tell, but let me try and trying to show you that right there, the lip. So that's in, and then once you've done that, you can crank these hose clamps. Oops. Okay, you can tighten these hose clamps like literally as hard as you can basically go, or like, yeah. So just like really tight. Yeah, like I can't really even tighten it harder than that. It doesn't have to be like insane, but just like something you would consider like really tight. So, oops. Even the screwdriver is kind of slipping, so don't damage the part. So that's really tight. You can see it's like deformed the hose clamp. It's like deformed the hose clamp. It's really tight all around. So that's how you know it's in. And like you should not be able to, oops, you should not be able to like pull it off. And obviously make sure everything's like flat. It should be like, the circle should be up against the extrusion if you've done this correctly. And now I'm gonna do the other side, same thing. I'm gonna just get these wires out of the way. And, okay. Put it in so that it's nice and straight. Align it, and then it should just slide in. You can see there, it's hit the flat on the inside, right there, yep, right there. And that's good. So I'm gonna tighten this one. Oops. Yeah, we're gonna tighten this one. Again, like really tight, you don't want it to slip. You shouldn't hear any cracking. If you do, you probably have something misaligned. Oops. Okay, so those are tight again. Again, it's deformed around the plastic and it's like tight all around. So that is, let me just do one of these. That's your finished base right there. Okay, the next step, now that we have this, is to get this bag of parts, which is going to be used to connect the main base to the large extrusion. So the first step is actually to take off one of these sides. So you have to loosen the hose clamp just a bit, probably like, I don't know, 2 turns, just enough that it's like clearly loose, enough to pull the side off. So I'm just gonna keep turning until it's pretty, okay. And then, so you can kind of just, enough that you can sort of feel that you can just pull it off. And make sure your hose clamps stay on. Okay, so now you want to take this bag and take the parts out. Okay, you should have 2 of these L pieces. Oops. Oops. And you should have 8 of these, like sharp set screws. And you got to just put them first into these L pieces. So just with your hands, make sure they go in. It should be easy to get them in. If it's not easy, you just have it misaligned. So just try again, but they should be able to go in here with your fingers. Like this. And yeah, make sure you don't lose any of these because we don't really have a lot of extra. Okay, and then you can use one of your Allen keys to just spin with your hand a bit faster until it starts to poke out the other side, in which case just back it off so it's flush. And same for this one. Keep going until it pokes out and then I'll back it off. I'm gonna do that for all of them. Okay, and last one. Oops. Okay, so this one's good. Gonna do the same for this one. Okay, so now these are both good. And what you want to do is slide them into the extrusion. So one goes this up, and they're directional. So you want to slide the bottom one with the one that goes like longer to the end. It won't go in anyways if you don't do that. But yeah, so you're sort of sliding it in roughly to the center, and then this one goes the other way like this. Same thing. Okay, so roughly to the center is fine. And then what we want to do is take the long bar and try and get it to go into each of them on the column. So I guess this is kind of hard to show, but you gotta line them up both at the same time. I guess I'll zoom in a bit. So maybe if I do that or something. So yeah, I'm trying to get each one to go in to each side. So that side's kind of in, but then that one's not in. So I'm going to try and get them both to go in. Okay, so now they're both in, loose like that. You can see it's good. And now we just want to sort of tighten it a bit just so that it's not like totally falling off. So this part's a bit tricky, but you'll want to sort of just tighten each one so that it pushes against the extrusion with its pointed part at the end. I guess it's kind of hard to show, but I'm sort of just tightening it so that it starts to get flush here. And I'm gonna do the same thing to the bottom one. And you kind of have to do these together, like all of 4 of them. It's a bit tricky, but this one's now a little bit tight, but can still move a bit, and that's kind of where we want it. And then we want to do the other side too. So you can see it's like really loose. We want to tighten the set screws just enough that it's a bit less loose, which kind of just like lines the part up for when we want to properly tighten it. So like that. Okay, so now they're like less loose, and we just want to line this up like roughly in the center is kind of okay. You could probably try and make sure in a bit of a better format after. I guess, yeah. So I'm going to tighten these bottom ones first, just with this side of the Allen key pretty tightly. And how tight? I think I'm sort of aiming for like one finger is like, pushing it with one finger gets like kind of tough. It's probably good. And you can tell that it's just below the surface there. And then same for this side. I'm going to take this, go a bit. At some point it'll be like pretty hard to go with like one finger, and that's where you know you're probably good. And because this set screw is digging into the aluminum, so it can go probably like too much if you tighten it too much. So that's pretty tight. So now that's like totally in, and then we need to tighten the vertical ones. So I'm just gonna do that. Okay, and then this one. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, and then the other side. that's pretty tight. So, you know, you should like basically, they should feel kind of like one part once you've done this properly. Like I can't move it or wiggle it, or I try to like even go like this. It's really one part, and so that's what it should feel like. Yeah, and then finally, let me zoom back out. You want to put your wheel back in, and the best way to do that is probably just to like lift this up a bit, and then I'm just going to put this in and slide it in, and then just push, and then again making sure that, oh, it's kind of hard to see, oops, but the lip there is being pushed up against by the extrusion. That's how you know it's the right distance, like all the way in basically. And then don't forget to take your screwdriver and tighten this again because you loosened it to put it in. And again, that's just sort of like pretty tight that you feel it's like, okay, I can't really go anymore. And obviously make sure that these are sort of in that position just above the, just across the top. Oops. Okay, so now you should have your base with your extrusion in. It should feel very solid. You can't move it. It's like one piece. Okay, next thing that will make this a lot less annoying is we'll put the training wheels on so that the robot can stay up on its own. You should have 2 wheels. They might look like this. They might be a different material. We're still iterating on that. And then this printed part on each side. And this is a damper, so you can sort of, it impedes velocity is the idea. Damper mount, bolts, and the bolts that mount this. So I'm just gonna move some of this aside for a second. And then I just have to move this up. Okay. Ooh, actually, gotta do this. Okay. So the first step is to get these bolts. They are M6 bolts, and just sort of take them out and put them here. And then each one of these printed parts gets 2 of them on the back. Okay, quick clarification. The T-nut, which is this thing, and the nut, it goes on like this. It goes on in this way. It goes on that way. Okay, and that's because there is like a direction here. You can see it like round on this corner, sharp on this corner. That's how it hooks into the thing, and then there's these ridges here that help it lock in, so it goes this way. So I'm just gonna push it through so that it's in, and then take the T-nut and get it in. It should be very easy, and just spin on, go sort of like, I don't know, that much. If you don't leave enough, it won't go into the extrusion. So next one in like this, same thing. T-nut. Should just go finger tight like that. Okay. And then you can get your wheel. Oh, actually, you also need these parts. You need these parts. So your wheel actually goes in like this, and then you just take this sort of, I don't know, printed bolt and you put it in, and that's what keeps it in. And then this actually like bends right there like that. And then the damper keeps it from falling over. So this is the base thing that you make. Turn these to this angle, and then lift up this and sort of slide this underneath. And then I can zoom in like this. And so you want to just like It's kind of hard to show. Let me see if I can do this. You want to have these like turned like that, and then following the slot, and then they can go in the slot. So I guess I'll demonstrate a bit of a simple thing. So the way these work is they're like this, and then if you turn them like this, they can go in the slot without having to take stuff apart. And then when you rotate them, they get stuck on the lip, and then you can tighten them. And so that's what we're using. And so we've rotated them. We're gonna push them in. It's kind of hard to see, but you'll just push it in to the slot. Oops. Just gotta get it in the right orientation. So I guess let me show you that. So I'm just pushing it. It's kind of hard to align it, to be honest, but if you get them aligned and you sort of just get them to go in like that. Oops. Oh, I guess I missed it. Okay, you get them to go in like this, and you sort of just align them the right way. Then they go in, and then they'll come out unless you sort of just like spin them a bit to get them caught. And I'll sort of show you what that looks like. So spinning them to get caught, I'll move this down, and I'll move this like this. Okay, and this works. Okay. So a demonstration here is they're in like this. Wait, it's kind of hard to. Okay, let's do that. So you can see the. Okay, so when you put them in, they're like that. Yes. Let me go down actually a bit more. Up. One click. Okay. So yeah, when they go in, they're like that, and they're sort of like not in properly. So if you tighten them, and they don't, and this just like doesn't rotate like that, then it won't actually pull against the extrusion. So you got to make sure it's rotated like that, and you can just do that by looking like I am right now. Then you take your Allen key and you put it in and you tighten it, and then to make sure it goes in properly, you got to sort of like watch that and make sure that like is properly perpendicular. So you can see that's like properly done, and then you should be able to tighten it and push it in like way more. Yeah, you can see it's like in. And so you gotta do that to both sides. So I'll try and show the other side if that's possible. Okay, so yeah, so this one's not in properly. So I'm going to sort of take my Allen key and just kind of like play with it until it goes in properly. So just kind of hard to do this. So I'm gonna rotate it. Okay, so it's been rotated, and then okay, nice. It's hitting the lip nicely, and now I can tighten it. Not too much because it's a 3D printed part, so it could get damaged. But I guess just sort of tighten it again, like enough that it feels like very snug and like nothing is moving. Okay, so that's how you do that. And so now this guy should sort of stay. Well, actually, not yet. Not yet. Oh, I fucked this up. Okay, so now you've got this. And let me move this back up again. Zoop. Okay. Okay, so now you've got this on one side. Kind of keeps it up a little bit, but it will not, like, you can't leave it like this. You have to, let me get this the right thing. Okay, you have to, let's do one of these. Okay, so then you have this thing, and you get your damper, which should go in and out like that. And just make sure that these might come loose, like a little bit on yours. So just like tighten it, make sure it's like, I don't know, hand tight is fine. And this could be loose on this too, like that. And that's not good. So you want to just grab this and just make sure it's tight. Basically hand tight is fine, and then you can rotate these so that they're aligned, like this one and this one. Okay, so then you take this and you put it in between that gap and in between this gap, which might be a little bit hard if the robot is like bent down. So if you sort of just move the bar backwards a bit, if you can, then it should go in. And then you take 2 of these. And there's a direction to these printed parts. So one side is like easy to go in. The other side will be, oh, actually, this is an old one, but one side will be easy to go in and one side will be harder. You want to start with the easy side, and then I guess I gotta zoom in here, but it's kind of hard to do. Okay, yeah, you just want to get this to go in between. So this is gonna go in between that. So you just put this in between and push it in. The new ones won't go in that easily. You actually have to it'll go in maybe like that much, and then you gotta rotate it with your fingers to get it to sort of go in like that. And you don't really need to use an Allen key, I don't think. You just kind of put it in with the finger tight. And I'm gonna do the same to this front piece here. So you can see it's kind of like, if I zoom out a little bit, it's a bit harder because I have the extrusion a bit forward tilting, but you again take this part and you put it in, and you just even just push it with your, sort of push it with your finger, and you just got to get it to go into the part on the end and screw it in so that it goes. Okay, and now you should have a dampened, let's go like this. You should have a dampened training wheel, so it should not fall over, at least very easily. And let's do the other one. So the other one's the same thing. You take your M6 screw and put it through this, and then your T-nut, and you go like this. Oops. And sort of leave like about that. Even maybe like a little bit less is actually fine. Maybe like that much. It'll be obvious if you didn't put enough, didn't leave enough space when you try to put it in. So that goes like that, and then this goes like this. Okay, and remember we need to sort of rotate these to be like that, and then maybe turn this around. Oops. Move this and this. Obviously you want these oh, actually, wait, I had the right one. You want these to be going opposite directions, or else it'll just fall over on one side. So I'm going to, again, I'll try and zoom in here and drop this, and then rotate this guy up 1 or 2. Okay. Get this in. Okay. So again, I'm going to lift this up to get this to under. And then these moved again, so I'm just gonna turn them, and then I'm just gonna put it in like that. Okay, and then remember, let me get that out of the way. Remember that needs to be rotated correctly, so I sort of just make sure that that's good. So you see that it's kind of over rotated, it's in a little bit. That's not really good, so you gotta maybe unscrew it a little bit and sort of wiggle that, and you get it to maybe spin it a bit, and then sort of just keep getting it to go in properly. And this kind of happens if you've left too much slack. Okay, so there you go. So now it went in. So that's good, and I'm just gonna tighten it. Not super tight, these are big screws, so they can get easily too tight. Let me zoom out a bit. So I'm gonna just sort of just push with my, yeah, even one finger from here is too much. That's why I sort of leave it on this side. And it'll be easier to, you should not be able to, sort of just having your finger like that should be too hard. So that's good, as long as this is sort of in pretty well. And then same thing on this end. So that guy's not in correctly. So you sort of want to take your Allen key and rotate it until it's nice and on the lip. Okay, so it's good, and then tighten it again, not too hard. And okay, so now that's in. I'm gonna fold this back in. I'm gonna rotate this again. Okay. Okay. And then take your wheel, and you can put this in any side, it doesn't really matter. And then your last 2 bolts of these. And this guy, again, make sure that these are tight on. Back one first is a bit easier. Find the side that's easy to put in. Mine's an old version, but just find the side, put it in. It should go in like that, and then you can screw it in to go in all the way. So I can get a little closer. Screw it to go in all the way, and then you have it like this. And then you take this guy, and then you gotta rotate this. You gotta rotate this so that's the right direction, like that, and then put it in. So obviously it might be like too far because it's by default needs a little bit of compression, so you just kind of push it and then put it in, and then you can screw it to go all the way in. If yours doesn't go all the way in, like too tight, that's fine, as long as it's, you know, grabbing a good chunk of that. And there you go. So now you have a mobile base that shouldn't fall over that easily. You can push it, kind of hitting the ceiling, but you can push it like this, and it should stay up, and now it should be a lot easier for us to work on it. Oh, and we're gonna put a part here. So actually, once you have this in, just loosen it a teeny tiny bit, just a little bit, so that you can push this to the end, and then retighten it again. And we're gonna do some work around the middle, so you'll want that space. And again, this one just a little bit, like 1 turn or so, and then push it to the end, and then this is good. And then just also these wires should go below this guy, so you can just push them under and pull it, and then push it into that part, and should be good. At this point, if your bar doesn't look like pretty centered, mine looks pretty good, but let's sort of just go through the exercise of if it's not good. Loosen the bottom screw. Don't loosen the ones up on this one, but on this one. So actually I like to go like this and loosen them. I guess I can zoom in a bit. And I'll loosen this one too. Don't need to loosen it too much, just like once you feel like there's almost no resistance. Should be like a turn or two. You have to remember that it made like a point, like a divot in the metal, because it was sharp. So you actually need to pull it out a little bit more than you think. Let's see if it moves. Okay, it doesn't really move. It's probably still in the divot, so you can just loosen it actually quite a bit more. And same with this one. Let's see if we can move it. Okay, we can move this. So now that this moves, we can just use some simple random way to measure how far we are away. I will use, let's see, I think you guys might have different Allen keys, so let's use this part. You have this part in the kit. And the easiest way to measure this is just like, I'm gonna push this down. Okay, so the easiest way to measure this is, just push this up against this and sort of measure, or you can even do like push up against, I guess it's hard to, yeah, okay, let's do this. You push up against this and sort of measure to the center of this guy. It's like that, okay. And then I'll sort of use my other hand, go to the center, and okay, so I can see that, so I'll move this. Putting it in the same spot, this one's sort of a little far. So if I just move this guy a little bit to the right, like, I don't know, however much I felt was good, I'll do this measurement again. So I'll measure to the center. I'm just like measuring with my thumb to the center. and then putting my other thumb so I can rotate it. And putting that back in the center. I sort of do that on the other side, but just to show you, you can go like this, and that's like pretty good. Doesn't need to be really insane, as long as if you can't really tell, then it's probably fine. So that's fine. So you can just use like, I don't know, any long thing or anything you can sort of just like do a quick check with. And now just tighten these bottom pieces again. So like that. And then you will need to use the long end of the Allen key. I think this won't go tight enough with just this thing. So use the long end and go until it's hard with one finger, so that's still easy. And that's pretty good. This one. Still pretty easy. Oops. That's pretty good. Yeah, and just make sure they're all tight, because this is a pretty important part of the robot. Okay, and then just make sure on all of them that, okay, that's pretty hard. This one could go a little bit more actually. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's pretty good. Okay, so now again, this should be really tight. You can't move it, you can't wiggle it. And now you've centered it if you needed to. Okay, the next part is we're gonna mount the electronics sort of printed part that will mount. The Raspberry Pi goes here, the motor controller goes here. So there's 2 holes for some more screws. These are M4 screws. So you'll take 2 T-nuts and then 2 of the screws, which shouldn't be that hard. Okay. And you just gotta put one of them in there and let it fall through. Oops. And then I guess same thing for the other one, like that. And then it's easy if you kind of just like put your finger to plug the hole so it doesn't fall out, and then you put it upside down, and then they'll be sticking out like this, and then you just can spin them on. I guess they might spin inside of there, so maybe it's easiest if you just hold it like that and then get your Allen key and get it attached to it and hold it like this. And then it won't spin, so you can get your finger tightened. And that's in. And you want to leave about, I don't know, that much is good. And then same thing for the bottom one. Make sure your Allen key like actually goes into the head of the bolt. And same thing for this, just sort of that much is fine. Okay. And then you want to line them up like we did for the other part, like this. And you're gonna put it, I guess, let me move this down. This, okay, nice. You're gonna align it so that the bottom of this is on the bottom of the extrusion, basically, exactly. And then this should just go in. Let me move this back up and go like this. So that should go in again, and then let me rotate this again. Like this, and then like this. Okay. So you'll see that we have the part in, just move it up so that the bottom is aligned, and then put your Allen key in, and then remember to see it'll kind of spin in place, maybe get caught a little bit. Just make sure that the end state is like it is fully correctly I'll sort of lean in and show you. It's like fully correctly on the lip of the extrusion. Is the right way. And then once you have that, you can tighten it. Again, you don't need to tighten it like a crazy amount. You don't need to tighten it a crazy amount, just enough that it sort of will stay put. There's not a lot of force on this, just the electronics. So it's just enough on the end with your finger is fine. And then the bottom one's harder because you can't see inside, but hopefully by now you can maybe feel if it's caught correctly. So we'll hope that you guys can do that. Okay, so now this is in. And we're gonna move this down again, point it up, and zoom out. And we'll do something like this, maybe. Okay, so now that you have this, and it's flush, wait, let me, it's flush with the bottom. Do this, okay. We're going to get our Raspberry Pi. You can, I guess, well, yeah, it's fine. I took mine out of the box, but yours will come like this. You take it out of the box. Actually, let's, there is actually a step, I guess, to do before this. So let's lift this and then go like this and then, okay. So now you want to grab your Raspberry Pi, and you'll need to put the fan on. So it comes in this box. So you can just sort of open the box. It's not a very friendly box, but whatever. And we're just taking it out. Okay, so this comes with thermal pads on it already from the factory, which is very convenient. And this is just like parchment paper. So we're gonna mount this, and you just take the paper off and put it away. So now you've got this. It's gonna go on the Raspberry Pi in this orientation, and these pins, which have like spring mounts, they go into that hole right there below the like yellow colored hole, and that hole. So it's not that hard. You just sort of line it up, and obviously like these, you can kind of tell where these go. Like it's gonna go on that, and or actually that, this cluster, and that. So you sort of line it up, and then line up that pin to go in. Let me focus. Okay, yeah, just line up that thing, and then make sure this side's not too misaligned either. Oh, wow, it's very not focused. Okay, and then you sort of set it down and move it a little bit, and then once you are ready, so I'm trying to align this, you can push this with your thumb while holding this, and just push it and it'll like click in like that. And then same for this bottom one, sort of, this will be like down like that because the one's tight. So just sort of push down with your fingers and make sure that you're getting good contact on the blue pads, and then push with this guy. It'll go in tightly. And now I like to just sort of, like without breaking anything, so be careful, just sort of squish the thermal padding a little bit just to make sure you're getting good, it's kind of, okay, it's not good. Yeah, just sort of, just a bit, so that you're, make sure that there's good contact. The fan's kind of, I would try to push on the metal. So just try to make sure you got good contact and everything, and it's pretty important so that we have good thermals. Okay, and then you gotta plug the fan in. So it goes into this thing which has a cover on it. You can take it off with your fingers or a small Allen key. I think I can just get it off. So it's just, it's on my finger right here, it's like that. Put it down, and then you take it, there is a direction. I think it goes in with the flat part facing this way. So let me try and get it focus. Okay, and then we'll put it in like that. Yep, so it goes like that, and then you just push it in. And I think, again, it should be kind of pretty clear when it's in, but it doesn't go in anymore. So that's in right there. and you can just kind of push the wire down a bit. So that's what it should look like. These should be in, these pins should be sticking out. That's your Raspberry Pi. And then you can get your ODrive, which comes in the box. I just took it out of the box and out of the bag. This will be your ODrive. It's an ODrive clone, it's an ODesk, but basically the same thing. Has an aluminum heatsink on it already. And the way we mount these two pieces, they click into printed clips. The clips are kind of fragile, so be a little bit, you gotta probably be like a little bit careful. I've tried to make them not super fragile, but so the first one is the ODrive. The green parts, the green connectors, which will wire into the motors, go facing up. And then on, there's pins here that will help you align. And then these, I guess it's hard to see, but these bend, they're printed, so be a bit gentle, but sort of just get it aligned in. So I sort of just take it and put it in roughly the right orientation. And you can kind of put one side in, or so I'm gonna like put one side kind of in first, maybe by like sliding it. So now it's like over that. So I'll kind of just do one of these. So it's kind of good. And then the other side now is like, needs to be popped in. So press on the aluminum part, not the PCB. You don't want to break the PCB. So just press on the, I guess I'll zoom out so you can see exactly what I'm doing. But I'm sort of holding this side so it stays in like that. And then make sure it's aligned correctly. And then you can just sort of like push and it should click like really easily. It should not take a lot of force. And then you can just sort of push, and then it should be like clicked in on the aluminum part like that. Right there, it should be clicked in. And so it should not come out. It should be fairly tightly in. Yeah, so, oh, this is really like disorienting, I guess. So that should be in, and there should be like no gap on the top. It should be good. It should be pretty tight. You can't really take it off. Next, we put the Raspberry Pi in. To do that, I will move this up. Okay, so there's these clips here that bend. Be very gentle with them because they can definitely break. So it's this one, these are just walls, and then this one at the bottom here. So the easiest way to do this, take your Raspberry Pi and just, you can sort of put the bottom in first by just putting it, I guess I'll just show you so it's easier. But I sort of just put the bottom in first, like that. So I actually didn't even click it in. And then I click the top ones in by just pushing it down. And then this should now be like pretty tightly in, and then yeah, you shouldn't be able to really like move it very much. And then if you want to take it out, you can, the easiest way to take this out is you can just take your finger and like bend these a little bit. So like this. If you want to take it out, you just bend these out a little bit, and then you can like pull it off like that, and then just take it out. So now I'll just put it back in to the bottom, and then I'm just gonna push it in like that, and it should be in. And that is the electronics mount with the ODrive and the Raspberry Pi. Okay, now we're gonna put the motor wires in. So each motor has 8 things coming out, but there's 3 obviously bigger ones, and it'll be these 3, usually yellow, blue, and green. And you want to make sure that your wires are like not, okay, let me show you. You want to make sure your wires are not like sort of like, let me just hook them up. So if your wires look like all messed up like that, you want to sort of straighten them out and twist them so they're super nice and straight, because we're going to put them in the connector and you want them to be good. So these are my 3 wires. They go in this one for this side and this one for that side, and they should be long enough just to easily reach. The order doesn't matter, we're going to calibrate it later, and so you can use your larger screwdriver. You need to open the terminal correctly, so I think getting a proper video of this will be very important. But the terminals need to be opened correctly, so I'm gonna, I can get like a decent shot. So I'm gonna put this into the screw terminal, and you gotta make sure that you're opening them all the way. So you push with the screwdriver and rotate until it's like all the way open, and then you keep rotating, it's not doing anything. So that's all the way open. And you see when you release your screwdriver, sometimes if your like screwdriver's magnetic, it'll pull it out a little bit. You just gotta make sure like you leave it all the way open. And so then the easiest way to do this is, let me try and hold it down. This is really difficult, but okay. So that's all the way open. I'm gonna take a wire. I'll just take the yellow one, so it's nice and straight. I'm gonna put it in the terminal. Okay. All the way in. It doesn't need to go, I don't know what that hole is, it doesn't really matter. But okay, so a wire frayed, so I'm gonna retwist it. I guess that's good. And then put my screwdriver in. Okay. And then it's open, and I'm gonna just put the yellow part like to the back wall, and then start turning. And the terminal should close onto the wire like this. Okay, the terminal should close onto the wire, and for reference, this is what it looks like from this angle. Okay, so like, you don't want too much of your wire sticking out either. And then I'm gonna tighten it, not like too tight, but this is really difficult, but enough that it's like, you don't know how to describe it, but enough that like your screwdriver should like kind of make it a little difficult to, okay, this is really difficult. Oh, okay, that's good. Enough that it's like, okay, you're like sort of giving it a little bit of a, let me zoom out here. So my screwdriver, my finger like should be pretty like hard to keep it tight. I don't know how to describe it, but just the way you know it's good is if you can tug on this and it's not coming out. And so I'm gonna do that to the rest of them. So again, okay, get a good, okay. So then these two, I'll do the green one next. So green big wire, make sure it's the big wires, the bigger ones. Terminal needs to be all the way loose, so left is loose. You'll see it's opening, all the way open. Take the green wire, put it in the terminal. There's nothing fraying, you don't want any wires sticking out because it'll short. And then you want to keep it pushed down so it's all the way in. And then tighten the terminal. So you can see the terminal is getting tighter. And holding the green wire down, like that. And should be tight. And then the last one is the blue one, so that's good. And then open the terminal. And then put the last wire in. Again, the order doesn't matter. Does not matter. Make sure you're not grabbing any of the rubber on the terminal, or else like you won't have good connection. So just make sure that what's grabbing onto the terminal is actually wire. So I guess I'll do a little bit like that to make sure it's only wire. And then tighten it so that when I tug on it, it's not moving. And then these terminals are kind of fragile, so don't over tighten it, but this should be good. So then you should have this. And then let's do this and like this. Okay, so now we have this. These are in. I can pull on them, not too hard, but enough that they're obviously in. And then I'm going to do so we have the 5 sticking out here still, which is fine, and this is fine. And then 3 on this side. So I'm going to do the same thing. Making sure these are not frayed at all. Okay, and then the thick ones, make sure they're the thick wires, not the thin ones. And then make sure all the terminals are open. So zoom in again. Open this terminal. And then the order doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna take the blue one because it seems like the longer one. And put it in the terminal, and all the wires are in. And we're not grabbing any of the rubber. And just keep it so that it's going in, and then tighten the terminal. Okay, and then enough that like you can sort of feel when it gets like hard and you're clearly squishing the metal, and then that's when you want to stop and you pull it and it's good. And then I'll do the yellow wire. Okay, so that is the motor wires in, or the motor, I guess, base brushless motor wires. These are the sensor wires. Okay, now take this bag and you want to get these 5-part connector pieces. Leave these 3 ones. So you take these. These are called Wago. Well, these are like fake Wagos, but they're usually called Wago connectors. They work by sort of you open them up and then you put your wire in, and then it like gets stuck in there. And so it's really easy. You don't need to solder. So I'm just gonna open them all up like that. And this one too. So open them all up, and then the way this works is we have these stripped already for you. So let me sort of zoom in maybe. So we have these stripped already for you, a good amount. Just make sure that they're, again, like this one, where is it? This one's not good. You need to make sure that it's nice and like one wire, or else things will not go in correctly. So these are my 5 wires. The only thing that matters here is that black and red are on the ends. The middle ones, the order doesn't matter again. But black and red, obviously black is ground and red is 5 volts. These are for sensors in the motor. There's like sensors in the motor that we use for distance sensing and commutating the motor. And so in a second you'll see, but it's going to connect into here. And it's easiest if red is on one side. It can be on this side, or it can be on this side. It doesn't matter, just one of the sides. So you want to put these in. Let me see if I can get that. Put these in, and then like this. Okay. You want to take this. Let me move this in. Take this and this guy, and then you want to put it in so that, okay, what's the easiest way to show you this? Let me do this. take it, and then it's kind of hard to show you, but you put it in, and it should like go. Oh, it's really hard to show you this. Okay, take it and you go into the first one like that, and make sure it goes actually into the slot, and you kind of see it in there. Just make sure you're not grabbing onto the rubber again. So you see that, it's good, and then you can just click, and it'll hold it. And then you just want to give it a little tug, and if it's a tug, it's good. And you can see it's not grabbing the rubber. So that's a good connection. The other ones are not on the outside, you can't see as well, but you can kind of figure it out. It's like, that's good. The next three don't matter in terms of like the order. So you can just pick any order. The black one I'm gonna put on the end, but these three orders don't matter. So I'm just gonna take the yellow one and put the yellow one in to this one, and then push it all the way up to the back, making sure that I'm not making the rubber, so that's good. And then click, and now it's in. And then I'll do the green one next. Green one in. I can kind of feel it like fraying when I do that, so I want to make it straighter. And then put it in like that. Yeah, that's good. And then you can see that the rubber is in a known spot. You click, and it's tight. And then this blue one, put it in. You can see it's hit the end, so I'm gonna click, and it's in. And then the last one's the black one. Put it in the end here, and make sure the rubber doesn't go too far, and then click. Okay, so now these are all in. So let me zoom out a little bit, and up like this. Okay, so now you should have something that looks like this, which is pretty nice. And so red is on one side, black's on the other. Again, it doesn't matter what side, just one of the sides. Let me open these. Okay, and then you want to take and then let me zoom out. You should have this in the kit. They're just jumper wires, because we need to connect into the ODrive. So the color doesn't matter, or like, we're gonna make the color not matter. So just take, because it's hard to line them up and then you'll like waste a lot of them not having colors together. So these are male to male, because they're gonna go in one end and then in that thing. And then just take the first 5 in one big cluster so that they're like nicely together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And I don't care about the color. Like, the color doesn't matter, because we'll just do it ourselves. And I'm just gonna rip the outside one off. So now I have 5 connected together, so it's like nice. And then I'm just gonna make sure they're sort of in the right order coming out like that. So it's like in the same order. You don't want them all messed up like this, because it'll be hard. So just in the same order, clean it up like this. So like that is good. Okay, now in the order that they are here, again, the color doesn't matter. Just put them in their line order into this block. So first one, make sure this block is all open. Zoom in again. The block needs to be all open. Take the first one, which is the green one, push it in, should be like that, and then click, should be in. And then same for the rest of these in the same order. You can like pull the end a little bit open if there's not enough give. So I'm just gonna pull a little bit. Okay. And then, oops, I closed this. So next one, like this, click. And then orange one, push it in, click. And then red one. And then the brown one. Okay, and then obviously they should not be coming out if you pull on them. So now you should have this. So the color doesn't matter. You should have this. I'm gonna zoom out. Okay. I'm gonna go down actually, like this. I go like this and like this. Okay. So you have this. Color didn't matter. They're in this order. So now the thing that I'm gonna explain is how this ODrive sort of works. So let me go down like this. Okay. So this is the ODrive sensor header. It's for Hall sensors, or I guess also encoders. And the way we hook ours up is 5 volts. I guess let me zoom in a bit. We use there's like M1, M0, M1, M0 for M0 obviously line up, and then that's our like right side motor. So this board does 2 motors obviously, and so the right one is M0. So we're gonna plug this sensor, I guess, wires into the M0 one. The like black, so black from the motor is ground. Again, we don't care about these colors. The black from the motor is ground. So that means that for us, brown is ground. And then the middle 3 are gonna be A, B, Z. So that's blue, green, yellow. The order doesn't matter because it gets calibrated later. So it's gonna be ground, A, B, Z, and then 5 volts from the motor. We had to go to green, which is here. And so the reason we did this is if you put these all in a line how they are, you can just plug them all straight in and make sure you do it right. Like start with the one that's ground on your motor. Mine goes to brown. So then I'm gonna take like all of them in one shot and line them up like this. So brown, ground, zoom in a bit. And then I can just like plug them all in one go. If you can't do that, because it is kind of hard, you can like sort of do one at a time. But, so I guess for example, like I could, that's kind of hard to see. Let me do this. Okay, and then zoom in a bit. Okay, and then go like this. Okay, so again, oops. So we're gonna do this right side, brown is ground, and keep it in order, and then it'll just match up correctly. So I'm gonna go ground first, and then my 3 center ones are the sensor like data ones. The order doesn't matter, but keep it in the same order so it's straight. So then I'm gonna take the red one is the next one, orange, next one, yellow, next one, and then again my green goes to power, like 5 volts on the motor wire, and then that goes into 5 volts. So you can see, if you gotta make sure that they're pushed all the way in, like definitely make sure they're pushed all the way in, you're gonna have errors. So they're pushed all the way in, and let me zoom out a bit here so you can see. So ground from the motor wire goes to brown, that one, the 3 in the middle, order doesn't matter, and then 5 volts, green one. So it makes it easy, you can just sort of go straight in like this. And so that's that motor totally plugged in. And then if you want to just like, you can just sort of tuck, I usually just take this and tuck it into there, and maybe just tuck it in back here, and you can use a piece of tape to keep it there, but that's sort of just a clean way to keep it. And then again, we have the other side, so we got to do the other side. So let me do this and then this. Okay, so the other side, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna grab the 5 volts, make sure it's straight, take this, go in, click, and then I'll take the blue one, open it. that didn't go in. So I gotta put it in correctly. Okay, so then these are in because I can pull them. Again, power and ground are on the ends. Take another 5. See, now we don't have like nice colors anymore because we've used some, so it's easier just to use random colors. So I'm gonna take 5 in a row. So blue, purple, gray, white, black, and then rip. Oops, make sure you rip. Oops. You want to keep them together so that's like easy to use. So there's 5, and then line them up easily. Maybe give some more slack. Okay. And I guess just to make it like make a little bit of sense, I'll use the black one and the black one. So that's in. Next one, white in, gray in, purple in, blue in. Okay, so these should all be down. Should be able to, okay, let's give this a little bit more slack because they're kind of, okay. So in a row, they're all in the same order. You can pull on all of them. They're good. Now we're gonna take this again, and I'm gonna, like this, plug it in the right order. So I put black on the black one from the motor, so that's definitely ground. So that means that all 5 will just go in this order, like this. So ground, and then I'll just confirm blue went to red. I'm just gonna, oops, it's gonna end up on 5 volts, which is exactly right. So again, there's like a 3-volt 3 that we aren't using. So you want to put the ground in first, and then the next 3, the order doesn't matter, but we're gonna keep it in the same as the pins. So this one all the way in, and then gray in on B, purple on the first one, and then 5 volts, which we checked, gonna go into 5 volts, which is right. Okay, and so now these are both in. Let me zoom back out and do one of these. Okay, so now we have our motors all connected. It's kind of dangling. Again, you can sort of just, make sure you don't pull these out. These have to stay in. Here, I'm gonna show you actually what I do to these to keep them in. I will give you, you'll have probably a sticker or something in the kit, maybe. Yo, did you take my tape by any chance? No. Really? Did I take it? I don't know, man. I don't do things. I don't know. Fundamentally not here. It's been fundamentally yoinked. What is it? All what's in here. And okay. There'll be a sticker probably in the kit, but I'm gonna use a little bit of tape. So I'm just gonna rip a piece of tape off. Okay, it's kind of hard to see. I'm gonna rip a piece of this tape off, like this, like that, and then probably something. Maybe like this. Okay, so you'll have a piece of tape like this. I'm gonna make 2, so I'm gonna make 1, and then maybe another one. Okay. So I got 2 pieces of tape. I'm gonna put them such that they keep these pins in. So I'm gonna push all the pins in all the way, and I'm gonna put let me just clean it up a little bit. I'm gonna put the tape on like that, and sort of just make sure that it connects to both of those and keeps it in. I'll just kind of do something like that. And same for this one. I'm gonna make sure all the pins are in, like all the way, like they're definitely in all the way. And then put the piece of tape on all of them so that it covers like, you know, that much, and then something like that, and then press down hard, and like, now, you know, if you tug on this, it should be harder to, we just want to make sure they don't come out, which they usually don't, but, well, actually they usually do, so we need to fix it, but this is our solution for now. Okay, and then finally, you probably just want to sort of give this a little bend so that they don't stick out so much, and then I'm going to tuck this one in again behind here, and this one in behind here, and lift this up, and okay, so now you have your motor with your sensor wires. Oh, and your, you know, everything actually. Okay, filming this actually after the fact, we learned that these connections are not very good. If I zoom in a bit, sometimes in here they don't grab correctly. Let me move in. A bit. Sometimes, okay, yeah, these don't connect in correctly. So what we're gonna do, and what you need to do, is disconnect these, and then you take this, and these pins have that little tab there that you can see. Maybe if I zoom in, you can take these tabs off either with your fingernail. Okay, this is gonna be how to easily take these black covers off. So first thing is you can like move them. See that? I'm moving it a little bit in and a little bit out. You can see that, right? You wanna be moving it. You wanna push it so that this. I'm gonna point with this one. Okay, so you pull off another one from your set of pins so that you can do this easily. But I'm just gonna show you how to take it off. So I'm gonna point with this one. Okay, so there's a gap right here that you need to sort of get access to, so you can sort of pull the black cover. So this is pushed forward. If I pull it back, you can see that a little gap opens right there. And then you can stick another one of the header pins in that little gap right there. And then you can just pull it out. So I'm gonna try and do that. So there you go. And you can see I just lifted it up. Okay, it's like focused on the wrong thing. Okay. Okay, you can see I just pulled it up, and then like, there you go. And then you can take it off. Or I'll try and use, it's gonna hurt. You can just focus. Yeah, take this tab off so we can expose the raw metal, and then we'll put it back in the connector. So you can try and use your small screwdriver to lift the tab up. A nail might be easier, but as you can see, I lifted it up. It kind of breaks it, but it's fine. And then you can just pull the black cover off like that. And then you're left with this. And then you gotta put this back in to, oops. You gotta put this back into the connector, and then it'll definitely connect properly because it's all just metal. So these black casings are impeding good connection. So we are going to take all of them off and put them back in without them. And that should solve any connection problems that were happening. So the rest of the video won't have this because I filmed the rest with this in, but just know that this is like a update that I'm adding after. So yeah, just take, it's not that hard. You can just use your nail actually just to lift them off, and then oops, lift them off like this, take it off, put it back in, and remember the order is very important. So I'm doing it in the order that it's going into here. So again, brown is going to black, and then brown goes around here into ground. So when you're doing this, don't forget to fix that, or like make sure you put it back in correctly. do not plug it in backwards. So I'm taking all of these out one by one and then putting them back in to the thing, and then connecting. That one's a little out, I can put it in a bit more, probably. Actually, that's fine. And then the last one here, this. And then putting it in. Okay, so now you can see the black casings are off, and these should have very good connections now. And then red goes to green. Let me zoom out a bit. These connections just make sure the order again. So again, all in the same order. Green goes down to 5 volts, and then all in order, and then brown goes to ground, so that's good. So do that to both sides. I did that to this side already, and that's how we learned that it worked. And then you can move on to the next steps. Okay, I'm gonna show you what I meant by like sticking them back. So you should have gotten 4 of these for me. One's for the QR code, and then, which I will show you at the end, which I used. And then 2 will be for these guys, how to sort of make them a little cleaner. So we're gonna put them on the back sides here. So I'm gonna flip this around like this. Okay. And then just take one of these double-sided stickies, and I guess you can sort of just figure out where is good to put them, but I think like somewhere like that is good. So I'm gonna just put the sticky thing right there, and then take off the backing. Okay, and then just like, I don't know, stick like some of it on that and it should be fine. Something like that. And then I'll get it a bit closer. So, you know, make sure these aren't tugging that much. This should be, actually this is in a very, very weird spot. I don't know how this became like this, but yours should look like that. So, oops. So, and then should have this actually connected. Okay, so that looks a lot better, and none of these are like taut. So that's good. And then just do the same thing for the other one. So take another one of your sticky things off of this, and then make sure this has enough room to be put like roughly there. So that looks good. So I'm gonna put a sticky thing right there, and then I'm gonna take off the back plastic. Okay, and then I'm just gonna take it and stick like the bottom, I don't know, 1 or 2 down there on it, but I don't want to be pulling on any of these that tightly, so something like that is really fine. And yeah, that's fine. You know, they're on pretty well, and then it just makes your robot wiring a lot cleaner. Make sure this isn't pulling too hard, but yeah. So that's how to make your robot wiring a bit cleaner. Okay, now we're gonna mount the IMU, which is this very common MPU 6050. It has an accelerometer, 3-axis, and gyro 3-axis. So it comes pre-soldered with the headers on, and this part's a bit weird, but whatever. So there's a little hole here for this to sort of sit flat. And then you have this bag of M3 screws. So you want to get both of those. And let me zoom in a bit here. Okay. You'll want to get an Allen key and, oh, wrong Allen key. And wrong Allen key again. Okay, get an Allen key that fits the screw head. It's good. And then you'll want to align that side with this. So, okay, so there's a way to do this that we're gonna fix, but it's not fixed yet. Is make sure it's flat. Put in this one first, because, well, I'll show you in a second, but put it in first. It should be pretty easy. You should be able to just thread it into the plastic. There's no bolt that just goes into the plastic pretty easily. And this one you'll want to just make it go all the way in. So, and just sort of make sure it's straight as you're putting it in. And I'll sort of, okay, I guess this is confusing. I'm gonna like that. Okay. Is that focusing? Focus. Okay, well, I'm gonna sort of, okay, wait, maybe if I do this, okay. Okay, that's better. So I'm gonna tighten it such that it'll be like, you wanna get it like that, and then just make sure you're tightening it. And it shouldn't hit any of the components. Okay, wow, this is really not focused. Okay, so you should be able to tighten it and get it straight and in and pretty tight. And then we have this one. So obviously we need this screw, else it'll just rotate. The problem is that this board has a capacitor right next to the screw head. So we can't put the screw all the way in. So we kind of just have to put it like halfway in. And there's really nothing we can do about that. So, at least for now, until I find a better fix. But we're gonna take this screw and, oops. And we're gonna just put it in, you know, like a bit, and make sure you don't hit the capacitor. So we're gonna keep screwing it in. Okay, why? This is not focused properly. Keep screwing it in. Like that, and then just kind of stop. And just kind of leave it like that. Yeah, so just leave it hovering over the capacitor, because if you touch the capacitor, everything's gonna be really bad. So this is fine. This keeps it from rotating, and then this one keeps it down. So it's a little bit lifted up, but it should be fine. And then we'll find a better fix eventually. So that's that. And that's that part. So, okay, you should have this now. Part. Then you take your M4 screw that you get from this bag, M4 screw, T-nut, put it on with your finger, about that much is fine. And then it goes on that side of the robot, this side. And you gotta make sure that that's the right side, because in the code we have a transform for our localization stack, and it matters that it's on this side. So you're gonna take these two, like this side basically, and align this. Let me move this in, I guess. And then this down a bit. Okay, so you take this. This is gonna push up against this. I'll move these out of the way. And then this, if you want to get this in, just kind of drop it in. Okay, so that's in, and now it's all loosey-goosey. You want to just sort of get this started. It's kind of hard to get it started because it'll maybe just spin forever, but you gotta, if I zoom in a little bit, maybe you can see the it maybe will catch and maybe won't. A trick is if you like just push it. It's kind of hard, but if you push this like up a bit so that the lip catches on the T-nut, and then you can tighten, and then it'll be like it'll be like in the right way. And so that's what made the T-nut catch properly. And then before you tighten it all the way, just make sure that it's pushed up against the wall such that it's like straight and in the right spot. And then give it tighten, and then so this should be up against the wall with these things. This should be like very straight with the extrusion, and then this shouldn't move. And so this is pretty important. It's in the right way, but it's very easy. And then you want to take, let me do this, move this back. Then take your female to female pins and rip off 4 in a row. Again, the color doesn't matter. Okay. And then you will want to, let me just move this in the right. Okay. you'll want to look at the PCB. We're going to use VCC, which is going to be, it can be up to 5 volts, but we'll use 3V 3. VCC is just voltage in. Ground, SCL and SDA. SCL and SDA are serial clock line and serial data. I think just, yeah, serial data. That's the I2C protocol, so that's what we're going to use. And you just want to take this in like the orientation that it's in, and then just put the 4 in the first 4 there, because those are the 4 that we're using, so it makes this really easy. So I'm going to take, I guess I'll just show you, but I'm going to take these 4 and just put them in. I'm going to put them all at once. If that's too hard, you can just do them one at a time, but sort of line them up and put them all in at once. And then I'm going to, I guess I can zoom in a bit and move down a bit. Like that, and then like this, I guess. Okay, so I'm putting these all in. Okay, let's try this again. So I'm taking these 4 in the same order that they are here, so that'll be really easy and make sense. And I'm gonna put them all in to this. I guess it's kind of hard to see, but so that's okay. It's kind of hard to put them all in, but we'll put these 2 in. Okay, and then these 2 is just clock and data in. Okay, so now we have the 4 wires in the right order on this. This is tight and good. And I will lift this back up, go like this. Okay, so that's your IMU. And then we're gonna spin this around. And now our IMU wires are sticking out from this right side here. And remember that coming, I guess, it'd be hard to tell, but okay, so looking at this, the wires are coming out of this. Blue is VCC, so 5 volts, or 3 volts, like up to 5, but we're gonna put in 3. So it's gonna be, let me sort of go down because we're about to plug into the Raspberry Pi. So we're gonna do, okay, we got this coming out. So remember that this was VCC, ground, yellow is clock, and orange was data. So on the Raspberry Pi, you can look at the pinout while I do this, but I'm going to plug it into these bottom 4 and just like get it like literally straight on so it's really clear. Okay, it's going to these bottom 4. So voltage, bottom pin, that's 3V 3 in. Okay, next one, ground. That one's closer to the top, so I'm gonna skip that. I know that this pin right above 3V 3 is serial data, so that one. Then I know that the next one is clock, again from the pinout, which you can see on the docks. or Googling Raspberry Pi 5 pinout. And so 3 volts, serial data, serial clock, I think skip 1, and then this one is a ground pin right here. So it should look like that. 5 volts, data, clock, skip 1, ground. And make sure that they're in all the way. And that is our IMU connected. Okay, and then next, we're going to do okay, we're gonna continue. I'm going to put, okay, so now we're gonna use female to male. And I'm going to take, again, the first 4. I'll take it from this side. So first 4 right here, take them off like that, and then set this aside. Okay, so this is what's gonna connect the data. This, we're using just the, using the RX and TX serial data to do communications. Oops, I took 5, so I'm gonna take this one off actually. Okay, so 4. And we are going to move this up a little bit. Okay, we are going to connect the GPIO 0 and 1 on the Raspberry Pi, which is the default UART RX and TX. I think it's UART 0 or UART 1. And we're gonna connect it to GPIO 1 and 2, which is the UART data on the ODrive. So I'm gonna use these first 2. And I know that you can look at the pinout, but if you go down to pin, like if you go down 7 pins, that's where they are. So I'm going to, I guess, zoom, I'm gonna move up a little bit and then zoom in a little bit. But I'm gonna take the white and the gray. I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we're gonna take our 4 wires and we're going to plug them into RX and TX. I usually just take the first 2 and sort of keep it in this order like this. And RX, I think it's GPIO 1 is on the left side of this, so I'm gonna go down, that's down 3, 4, 5, 6, plug it in, push it in all the way. Okay, so now you should be able to see 6 pins from the top. That should be GPIO 0, gray should be, that should be GPIO 1, I think, and then gray should be GPIO 0. Then the next one, yeah, so, and then I'm gonna take the purple one, and which is like the 3rd one I have, and then on the bottom, I think under GPIO 0 is a ground pin. So we're gonna plug purple into that pin all the way and just push it all the way in. Oops, push it all the way in. Okay, and then, so you can see that, and then blue is gonna be GPIO 5, like that on top. So you've got sort of like a T shape going on. And then on this side, let me see if I can go down a little bit. Okay, and then I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, so we plugged, so the easy part, so I'm gonna actually split these like quite a bit. And then the blue one and the purple one also like quite a bit, kind of that much. So it's really easy. You just take the one that you've plugged in on the left, which is white, and GPIO 1, and you take 1 and plug it into 1, and then GPIO 0 plugs into 2. But it's like the same order, so it's really simple. So you just take this and just make sure that you're plugging into 1 and 2, and then just push it all the way in. So like that. And the gray one's not all the way in, so I'm just gonna push it all the way in. Okay, so that's literally it. It's just in 1 and 2 from this. So it goes like kind of like straight in. Oh, it's really blurry. So it just goes like literally straight in from 1 and 0 to 1 and 2 like that. Okay, then we have 2 more. We have 2 more pins to plug in, purple and blue. Remember, purple was ground. So I usually use one of these 2, the whole board is grounded, but I usually use one of these 2 grounds here. So I'll just use the one farthest on the right. So that's in, and that's ground. And then lastly, blue has to go to the reset pin on that header. And you just want to go all the way in. And so it should look like this. Blue into the reset pin on that header. That's like a signal integrity thing. It's kind of hard to explain. Also, we can reset the ODrive from GPIO, which you'll see in the quick start. And so it should look like this. Very simple. You can sort of just leave it how it is. And that's all the wires that you're gonna have to plug in for the basic setup. Okay, now we're going to add in some of the power connector and wiring. So the important part here to know, I guess let me move this down and zoom in a bit. Okay, so these are the parts. So this is just to connect, this is just to hold it. This is the ODrive power. I will zoom it in. Okay, that's ODrive power. The top is positive, bottom is negative. Don't do it backwards, please. Just make sure you're doing it right. Negative on the bottom, positive on the top. So let's do that now. So just take your pre-stripped wires. I'll try and get a better angle of it. And move this out of the way. And I'll move this down. And I'm gonna sort of do one of these maybe. Okay. And let me just to show you. Negative is right there. So positive, negative. Okay. And then these are the green terminals, and so you got to make sure that you are making sure that the terminal is all the way open. So I'm going to rotate it so that you can see. I'm going to put the screwdriver in and rotate it until the terminal opens all the way. Okay. And then the bottom one. Terminal all the way open. Okay. Then take your power. This is like the short one, the shorter one. Make sure the ends are nice and twisted together and there's nothing coming off. So this could be a little tighter. So that's good. And then put, you can sort of bend it so that's like gonna go behind here a little easier. But you're gonna put obviously the negative into the bottom, and we'll do that first. So I'm just gonna move this positive out of the way and put the negative into the bottom all the way in. So there you go, negative into the bottom, no wires sticking out anywhere. And then I'm gonna, while holding it and pushing it in, I'm gonna screw it in. And again, the terminal is gonna tighten on the wire, and you should be able to feel when it like, and it also, you can see this green terminal like bending, kind of bad, so just kind of hold it, so it doesn't bend too much, and then, you know, tighten until you feel like, okay, it's definitely good. Don't over tighten it, because these terminals can strip. Obviously give it a tug. If you can't pull it out, then you're good. Okay, so negative, bottom, positive, top, red. Red I'm gonna put in the top now. So the terminal is all the way open. I can use the screwdriver, and yep, it's all the way open. And I'm gonna put this in. You can see some of my wires kind of did that when I did that. I'm gonna just make sure that they all go in for sure. And so again, I'm gonna go, okay, good. So they all went in now, and I'm pushing it to the end, and I'm putting the screwdriver in, and gonna tighten until the terminal is very strongly on the wire. Okay, you see this kind of starting to bend, just sort of, you know, hold it. It's hard for me to do it on camera and hold it, but I'll hold it and tighten it, and you're like, okay, that's definitely tight. And just give it a little pull. Okay, I'm gonna zoom, oops, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. And so that's this wire. You can sort of just push that to the back. Next is these two things. These plug into the Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi only really properly takes in power from the USB-C port right here. And it needs USB-C power delivery protocol. You can't just give it 5 volts. And so this part that I supply, it has, I don't know if you can read this, like that. This is a power delivery. You can see right there, output PD, power delivery. Has a chip inside. It's like made for a laptop or something, but has a chip inside. And the input is DC 15 to 20, which is perfect because that's our battery voltage is 20 maximum and then goes down a little bit as it dies. So the only thing that's a bit weird about this is it needs a barrel jack, and so I supplied the barrel jack in the kit. You like never unplug this. It's just a convenient way to get the power in the ground pulled out. And so if I zoom out a little bit and move this up, you get this, which is literally like just these two things together. You can plug it in to the Raspberry Pi USB-C, and it should go in like a normal USB-C. And then I bend this around to the back. You can leave these cables kind of all surrounded by it so that it's kind of like held in. And this sort of nicely bends in like the nice thing like this. And then we have this part here. This part is going to hold the barrel. And so you're just gonna like, basically, we're gonna do that, basically. And so we need one nut and screw. So we're gonna take out one nut and one bolt. Okay, put it through this, hold it with your finger, hand tighten this on with like that much left is fine. That's fine, maybe even like that's good. And then go like that. I'll sort of move in a bit. Okay, so you got this like this. Sort of line this up again. Get your Allen key. You can put it in and rotate it so you can see the T-nut is in the right orientation for me to like tighten it properly. And I think the easiest way to know that you've done this right is this should sort of be at like the same height. So I'm gonna move it up a little bit. Should be like the same height that it gets plugged into in the Raspberry Pi. So this should be like just like a nice U. And this doesn't need to be inside, it can be outside, it doesn't really matter, but it's kind of nice that it's like this. So I'm gonna tighten this all the way. Oh, you can see the T-nut didn't go properly. So I'm just gonna try it again. Okay, so that's good. And tighten it not too hard because it's the glossy part. Okay, so that's good. You kind of just do this, or leave that in like this, and then this we're gonna connect in a second. So now you should have these two coming out the back. You can actually, yeah, this is probably fine. So this is good, and these two are out the back. So Okay, so we left off with this coming out. Let me move a bit. Okay. And now we're going to finish up with the bottom. I think this is, yeah, this is everything in the bottom. So this will be like the full bottom done. We're gonna take our longer coiled power wire and just get it straight and out. Okay, okay. So this is the long one. You can use either end, they're the same, basically. Just make sure you clean up these if they have frayed a little bit. This one too. Okay, and I'm just gonna kind of throw this back there. Okay, so now you have these three things. Okay, so now you have these three things. What we're gonna do is use these two that we left in the bag. They're Wago connectors, again, and they're like a bus. So all three of these are connected together. Oops, dropped one. And what that does is it lets us connect all these wires together because they all need power from the battery without using solder. So we can just really easily change things or assemble stuff without using soldering, which is really nice. So I'm gonna open both of these. One of these will be for black, which is ground, and one of them will be for power. And then, so the order that I do this in is usually, let me move in a bit and go in a little bit. So the order that I do this in, usually bend this guy. So this guy, I'm gonna do red first. So red goes in. Make sure I don't grab on the rubber, just make sure I'm grabbing on the wire and then click. Oops, I did both, but it's in. I'll reopen this middle one. Okay, that's in. Then I'm gonna take the one from the ODrive and do that. So take this, make sure it's nice and clean, and then put it in the middle one. And it should go in, and then the rubber part should be able to go in a bit too. So you shouldn't stop there. Oh, it kind of frayed a bit, so I'm gonna clean it up. You shouldn't have to stop like this. You can actually keep going until the rubber goes in, and then the rubber will hit the wall. And then click, and then that's in. So you have these two red in this. And then lastly, this, which is gonna go all the way up the extrusion. We're going to, I'm just gonna move this below this to put it in, because it'll be cleaner. Because then we can push this one behind also. Okay. And then I'm gonna take this red one from the long one and put that in. So like that, and click. Okay, so now all the reds, all the powers, gonna be 20 volts connected to this one. And then we gotta do the one in the back. So might be a little bit harder to see, but I guess I can just try and turn it all around. So in the same order, let me just move these aside. So we'll do this one on the outside, goes in, so like just like that. Then this, make sure that it's nice and clean. Put it in the middle one. Okay, you can see that it's that frayed. So I'm gonna not let that happen. I'm gonna clean it up. I'm gonna do it again and make sure they all go in very nicely. And then push it in, and then rubber to the wall, and then click. So those are in, and then lastly is the barrel jack ground. The barrel jack ground, which I'm gonna take and put it in that last slot, and click. Okay, so that's in. So now we have, zoom out a bit. So now we have these wires all nicely sort of tucked behind here. You can, I don't know, use a piece of tape or just kind of whatever you want to keep it there, but it just sort of stays there. And then this wire, which I will move back and maybe go up a couple clicks. this long one, we can tuck, so it's hard to see, but we'll tuck it in to the extrusion like this. I'm tucking it in all the way up. And then you can use these clips, which should come in, these clips, and you can just clip. I will try and zoom in for this. I'm just literally putting one of these clips into the extrusion to hold in the wire. So let me go like this and go like this. So again, it's like this. Just be a bit gentle, like they're 3D printed. So I'm just gonna put them in like that, and then click, and it should keep your wire in a bit better. So that's kind of that, and that's the bottom of your robot done, and then we'll move on to the top. Okay, so now we're on the top of the robot, and to be clear, this is the back, so like the Raspberry Pi and stuff is on this side. And to make that a little bit more clear, this is going to be your camera mount, and that would go this way, which is like that's forward. So, you know, maybe this will be more clear if I just flip this around. So let me flip this around. Okay, so we're switching now. Okay, so it's good. So this is forward. So now we're looking at the front, and that's kind of just important, just so that you know what's going on. So the first thing we're gonna do is, let me just sort of do one of these. So these are the parts you're gonna need. More of these screws. This is the voltage regulator. What it does is basically makes sure that the battery doesn't go too low, and so there's just a input for the power and ground. There's a relay, and there's some circuitry that basically you can configure, which we will configure, and it's going to be, if it's below 17 volts, this relay, I guess, disconnects, and then this does not conduct anymore, which goes to our wires there. And so we are going to put it in this case that I've designed, and it goes in a little bit of a funky way, but you basically take it, let me move the light a little bit. So you're gonna take it and it clicks in. So you hold it like this, I guess. You'll see there's like a little bit of a lip. You wanna put it in like that basically, and sort of, you wanna get the it to be like as deep into this corner as possible. And if you do that, you should be able to just push down on this side, and it should click in. It should not take a lot of force. And then what that result is we have this wall that perfectly divides the two sides, and makes sure that the wires don't touch each other. So we've just sort of had to design that in. But yeah, so just one more time, it might be hard to get out once you've gotten it in, which you can push from the back here. So it's gonna come out, you're gonna put it in at an angle like this, and then you're gonna push it in, and it should click in and be kind of mostly in. Okay, you can set that down. This is the e-stop mount, and this is the e-stop. So we'll take it out of the bag. It comes in two parts. So this is the bottom, this is the switch. So when this is pressed down, these two are not connected. So NC stands for normally closed, which means that right now these two sides are connected and conducting. When you push this down is obviously not normal, and so then it's open. And so what that lets us do is, well, this is the switch, and so it opens, and you sort of, it's emergency, so you click it, Anyways, we're gonna screw this on. So just there's a screw or like a big nut here. You're gonna take it off. You're gonna leave, so take it off like this. You're gonna leave this rubber part here. There's like a little rubber part. You leave it. Take this guy and mount the e-stop this way. So not this way. Make sure it's this way because it's gonna go like that. This way. And then take your nut and make sure you're using the side with the serrated edge. That's what keeps it tight. So the serrated side goes this way. And then you're just gonna sort of put that on. And then there is like an orientation. So you can see there's these two tabs. You want those to be flat like this. So you can tighten this, and then you can push this in, and then you can kind of use this to move it. So that's not right. We need it to be flat this way. So I'm gonna rotate this, and then it gets kind of tight. So then you kind of can it's kind of weird, but you get a feel for it. You kind of like loosen it, move this a bit, rotate it if you can, and then tighten this back up. And sort of make sure that it's flat. So it doesn't need to be like insanely tight, but just enough that it's on and won't come off. Oops. Okay, so that's like that. And then what you do is you take this part. So this looks like this. These tabs are flat like that. You take this part with the sort of side like this, and you put it on, and then it just clicks in. You gotta kind of press pretty hard, but you gotta click it in. Okay. Oh, it's not in. Yeah. There you go. So now it's clicked in. And then you can like release. And so you can switch the e-stop and then rotate to release. Switch, rotate. So this is closed, contact it. This is conducting. Click it in, not conducting. If you want to take this off, if you need to like unscrew this for whatever reason, the way this works is there's a little tab here. That's what's keeping it in. You can put a little screwdriver in here and sort of push. You're gonna push open. Push open this, and it'll allow you to take it off, or else it's gonna be like, it'll break stuff probably if you don't do that. So you can see it unclicked. So I'm literally just like putting a screwdriver into that and pulling it off, and that's how you get it to unhook from the tab, and then you could just take this off. So putting it back on again, this goes like this, and you just push like pretty hard and it'll click in. Okay, now we're gonna mount this. Now we're gonna mount this, so I'm gonna put that down also, and take some more of these M4 screws, and you need one for the e-stop, so take one, put it in, hold it with your finger, put this in again, finger tight like that, and then this goes on this side, and this side is I guess I'll point this down. So that's the front. So it kind of goes on the left side of the robot, right over the IMU that we mounted on the left side. So again, this is going to face forward. The Raspberry Pi is on this face. This goes on this side. And then you'll just want to, I guess I can turn this a bit, but just tighten it so that, and then like up and down, we'll move it in a second basically, but actually this needs to go like kind of down here. You can put this on for a little bit of reference of how high this should go. It should go like about like maybe an inch from that, and then you can take this off. Okay, now we're going to mount this guy right under it actually. So we're gonna take each of these and, oops. So 2 screws and 2 nuts and put it in to those holes on the top and the bottom. So this guy, screw into the top, nut, like that. Same thing on the other side, screw in, nut. Okay. And then the sides where the terminals are, you want to face it backwards on the back side because we put the wire on the back side, if you remember. So that's in. Then we just need to, again, make sure the nut is turned. So again, you can do the thing where you look at it over here and just make sure that it's correctly rotating like that. And this should just go like literally right under the E-stop. Let me zoom out again. Should just go like, basically, like that, like right under it is fine. And then with a little bit of space from this thing. And then I'm gonna screw the bottom one in like this. So I'm just putting these 2 screws in. Just tightening them, just snug. Doesn't need to be like ridiculously tight. I'm just redoing this one because it didn't. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now this looks like this. So you got your 2 things, that much from the top. And the last thing we're gonna mount to the top of this is the battery holder. So the battery holder takes in 2 more of the screws. So like that, and then I'll just do it one at a time. So I'm gonna put my finger to hold it, and then again, do this thing like that. And then this guy, same thing, finger, this guy like this. Like that is good. And then obviously this goes on the other side. So take your Allen key and you'll want to put the bottom of this roughly in line with that. So sort of line these up vertically again, roughly. Put them in to extrusion like that. And then line up the bottom of this roughly to that. And then you can screw in the nuts. Make sure you can look from the top to make sure you're doing it right. But so I can tell I didn't do one of these right, so I'm just gonna redo it. So that one's good. This bottom one I don't think I did right. Okay, and you can tell if it's like really nicely in there. Okay. So now you have this. So it should look like that, basically. And the first thing we're gonna do is get your larger screwdriver. Okay, so now that you have all these 3 in, the first thing you're gonna do is get your larger screwdriver, and we're going to put the positive side from the battery, actually let me go move in a bit, the positive side of the battery into this side of the E-stop. So the easiest way to do this is because you need to get your screwdriver under there. You can turn this like that, like I'm just really turning it basically. And then you can get your screwdriver into that. It needs to go, you need to like unscrew that basically. So that's just an easy way to unscrew it. And then like the other stuff, you need to look at the terminal and make sure that it's opening all the way up. So it should be opening, 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 opening. Oops. Okay, it should be opening. Keep going. Okay, so that's all the way open. And then, actually, let me just do this. Okay, And then I'm gonna take the red wire and carefully put it in. It's sort of easiest if you just pick a side basically. So mine's kind of short, your wire should be a little longer and a little easier. But I'm gonna pick the left side here and make sure all of the wires go in correctly and that nothing like sticks out basically. And then I'm gonna put all of them in. It's a bit harder, mine's like kind of messed up, but they're all in. And then just tighten. Okay, this is kind of hard because mine's a bit messed up, but let me just bend this so it's a bit easier. And then they're all in, and then I'm gonna go from the bottom again with this slightly tilted, and just make sure that I'm pushing this in and then tightening this, and then you'll watch the terminal close in on it. Your wire should be more in than this, like mine's kind of messed up, but yours should be grabbing a lot of the wire. Okay, and then just, this one actually like should be really quite tight. Your screwdriver should basically be skipping. Just make sure you don't break the terminal is the big thing. Okay, so that's this. So if I zoom out, you'll see that, I'm gonna put this back, we have just a nice wire coming from this right here. Okay, next we're going to wire up the voltage regulator. So the top is the input, the bottom is the output. We're gonna do the input first. And the way this works is we're gonna take the black wire from this guy directly, and let's just confirm which one is negative. So on this, if we go down a little bit, we can see here that the top is negative and the bottom is positive. And then same on the bottom. So the top should be the black wire. So we should just probably, you know, make sure that we're doing that. So let me move this up again. Okay. So we're gonna take the black wire straight from the terminal, the battery terminal, and we're gonna use our smaller screwdriver. And first is we're gonna open up the terminal all the way like we did with the other stuff. So let's do that, and let me show you that I'm doing that so that I make sure that you do that. So in and here, I'm gonna make sure the terminal was all the way open. I'm gonna close it just to show you. So it's not all the way open. Then if you rotate left, all the way open. Okay, and then I pulled the screwdriver out, so it kind of pulled it out a bit, but it's all the way open. And then this one on the bottom, which is positive, all the way open. Okay, all the way open. Okay, so remember, the top is negative, so we're gonna take the negative cable, which is coming from that. I'm gonna put it in the top, right there. Make sure that it's nice and clean and not frayed. And I'm gonna put it into, I'm gonna kind of bend the wire so it's a little easier. I'm gonna put it into, let me focus this. I'm gonna rotate this. Put this here. Maybe move this up a teeny bit. Okay. Negative wire through the 3D printed part. Put my screwdriver in the terminal to make sure it's open and push down all the way. And then put it in, and you should watch it. Okay, let's do this. You need to watch. You can watch. Okay, let's do this. Okay. You can this, and let's brighten it up a little bit. Okay. I kind of washed stuff out, but whatever. So terminal, right? Wire. Watch in there that this goes in and doesn't have any wires sticking out. So you can see that wire just frayed. So I'm going to fix this. Okay, wow, this is a bit oversaturated. I'm going to fix this by twisting it more. I'm gonna get my small screwdriver and I'm gonna try again. So I'm gonna rotate until it clicks in. Top, black wire, push it in. Okay, that's pretty good. And then I'm gonna tighten it while keeping it pushed in so that it stays in. And this strips really easily. Like this part strips really easily. So I'm gonna move this so it's not so weird. Just be very careful with it. Don't over tighten this screw. Actually, like the least tight thing on this robot probably. So just tighten it. You'll see this terminal start bending again like the other ones. Like, see that? That's probably when you're fine, to be honest. Just make sure that when you tug on this, it doesn't come out. And that if you look in there, make sure that if you look in there, the wire is not, let's go down a bit. The wire, okay, it's a bit confusing, but just make sure the wire is not crossing over the wall because we do not want positive and negative to be shorting. Okay, so that's the negative on the top input. Next, your kit should have one of these short red wires. That goes from the output of the e-stop, right? The output of this guy, which has the input from the terminal. The output from that goes to the input to this voltage regulator. And so that's why the small wire is in the kit. So I'm just gonna make sure that it's good on both ends. So, okay, so that just messed up. I'm gonna re-twist. And same on this side. Just make sure it's twisted good. Okay, so let's put in the top one first. So, move this up. Okay. Larger screwdriver. Again, I'm gonna twist this a bit so I can get my screwdriver in. And then I'm gonna put this, like make sure that your terminal's all the way open, right? So mine was open, but I'm gonna close it a bit to show you. Okay, so it was closed, now left loose, open. Okay, there's a screw in the middle. I'm gonna put mine on the right side of the screw. Okay, and then make sure you're not, let's zoom in. Make sure you're not like grabbing the rubber with this stuff. Just you're grabbing the wire itself, which is what I'm doing here. So I took this, put it on the right side, make sure no wires are coming out. Okay, and then I'm gonna tighten it. And you'll watch the terminal tighten on the wire. And this one should be pretty tight. So I'm just gonna crank it quite a bit until you feel like it's really tight. And then just always make sure that if you pull on it, it doesn't come out. Okay, then I'm gonna fix this. Okay. Okay, so now we have this dangling. We're gonna put that into the positive port on the bottom. So I'm gonna bend this up a little bit and then put this into the positive port on the input. So small screwdriver, make sure the terminal is all the way open, and then I'm going to bend it, bend the wire a little bit, and then put it in, watching that none of the wires, oh, so I kind of frayed it. So I'm gonna do one of these, and then this, and then boost the light a little bit. And then actually I'll rotate this, and then sort of watch me do this. Okay, so this frayed a little bit, so I'm gonna pull it, twist, so it's nice and tight. And then put it into right here. Make sure the terminal is open by pushing the screwdriver in and pushing this all the way in. Okay, so that went in pretty well. And then I'm gonna tighten it. Okay. Oops. Okay, so now I'm just gonna hold it with my hand. And then just sort of tighten it. Like these terminal will strip if you tighten it too hard. So I'm just gonna tighten until I feel like, oh, okay, it's clearly tight. And then pull on this, okay, it's not coming out. And then just make sure that nothing is shorting between them, because this is power. So there's a wall there. Let me move this down a little bit. There's a wall there. Let's focus. Nothing is shorting between them, so that's good. Okay, so that's the input. The last thing is to connect the wire that comes from the bottom. So I'm gonna put another one of those clips in, these guys. And just put one right there so that stays okay in while I do this. And this should be the back side of the robot. And you can pull down the bottom if there's too much slack at the top here. So I just pulled the bottom down a bit. And okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a bit. Okay, and this. Okay, so I'm just gonna twist these so that they're nice and good. And this one too. Okay, and remember, the top is negative and the bottom is positive. So I'm gonna take you're gonna have to like twist it like this a bit, I guess. Sort of bend it like this. So the top is negative, so small screwdriver. Open up the terminal all the way, so look from this direction. So we're gonna watch that the terminal is open all the way by going down a little bit. Oops. Going down a little bit and zooming in. Down. Okay, I guess it's kind of hard because this is going to be in the way, but let's do that. And then terminal all the way open. Yep, bottom one all the way open. So you're looking at it opening until you keep screwing and it's not changing. And then top one, ground, black wire. We're going to, I'll just show you exactly what I'm doing. So I'll move the red one out of the way a bit. Make sure this is good. Right hand, grabbing the black wire. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Black wire, making sure it's going into the top. And then pushing the terminal so it's open. And then just pushing this in like that. And then tightening. Oops. Make sure that the screwdriver's in. Okay. And I'm just gonna make sure it's nice and tight. So you see that the terminal is kind of twisting now. Just a little bit more so it's tight. And then pull on it, it's good. And then this one, bottom, positive. I'm just gonna kind of make this like this. Negative, or sorry, positive. Open the terminal. Make sure this goes in all the way. Push it with my fingers and then tighten it. And then I'm gonna hold it with my other hand. And then you see the terminal starts sort of moving. Just gonna give it a little bit more. Okay. And then you pull on each one, should not come out. And then again, make sure that when you zoom in and you look very closely, that these wires, so I didn't like do the best job to be honest, but these wires cannot be touching each other. And as you can see, they're not, there's a wall in between. We are good. Let me just make this very obvious. Yeah, they cannot touch each other. Okay, so that's good. So that is, let's fix that. And rotate the robot to the front and move this up. Okay, so that is this finished up. And then finally, you can take this guy and put that in there. Okay, so now is sort of accessories. Okay, now if you have a RealSense, you can mount it into this guy. So the RealSense gets mounted with a 1/4 screw, which comes in the kit, and you just sort of drop it in like this. Take your 1/4 screw here, and you can start it by hand tightening it. And you can use the closest metric Allen key. It might work, I don't know, but it's just try and maybe you can use a screwdriver. Okay, I'm gonna use this screwdriver as an Allen key. Turns out it works pretty well. Okay, the USB-C port is inside of there. So this comes in the kit, USB-C to USB-A to plug into the Raspberry Pi. So you can take this off, actually. Yeah, I'm just gonna take this actually probably all the way off. And then this should be 2 meters or 1.5 meters. So I'm just gonna drop that down and then take this guy and sort of try and sort of just plug him in to the, you can unscrew the RealSense if you want, but I'd find this easier. Just to sort of get it in there. Actually, I don't know if it works. Actually, I'm gonna plug it in before. So plug in RealSense. Okay, so that's in. Then take this, put it in like that. Make sure your cable goes like that, and then get your 1/4 screw and oops. 1/4 screw, hand tighten it in like this. And then you can actually use your big screwdriver, because this is an Imperial Allen key, just to sort of do this and get it a little bit tight. And now you have this. You can put this back up here. And I like to sort of put, let me do one of these. Take this, I'm gonna take the end and put it inside of this so that the wire goes nicely through. So untangle this and let it go nicely in. Then this kind of goes in, and then I'm gonna do one of these, but I'm just gonna show you that it just plugs into the bottom down here. So there's some slack. You can just put it inside of the extrusion, but I'm gonna plug it into that port, and then I'm gonna tuck this into here by just bending it and pushing it in. And then the same for this, like that, and then that can just go like that. And so that's kind of just nicely in there. And that's your camera connected. Okay, I'm gonna show you where to put your QR code. Usually I just put it like somewhere here. I mean, you can put it wherever you want, but I think here is usually good. I went around and probably gave you these double-sided sticky things. You should have 4. So one will be for the SD card. So I recommend sort of taking one, oops, and I guess putting it somewhere there in the middle, and then just taking off the other side of the cover. Okay, oh, it's kind of hard. Okay, that's And then take this, and then just, it should be the exact like width of the thing, and then you just sort of like put it on, obviously, make it straight, and then you're good. Okay, I'm gonna quickly show you how to take the Pi off so you can put the SD card in. So there's these tabs here that let the Pi click in. You can flex them with your finger if you, let me zoom in here. If you, let me do one of these. Okay, this thing, it flexes if you push it like this. See that? It flexes a little bit. Don't do it too much or else it'll break. So just do it a little bit. And then on the other side too, obviously there's one on the other side too. So if you just flex both of those just a little bit, just a teeny bit, you can pull the Pi out just like that. And then, let me zoom back out. Oops. And then, oops, that's too much. Oops. Okay. And then once you do that, your Pi obviously is connected to a bunch of stuff, but like you can just sort of just pull it around like that. And then the SD card that you flashed can just go in the bottom right there. Oops. This SD card holder is kind of broken, but okay, whatever. Okay, then it can go on the bottom there, and then you can just put it back in like how I showed you in the beginning, where you put the bottom in first, like that, and then just click it in, and then you're good. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to connect your LED strip that you get in the kit, which should have been like modified with some Wagos so that it goes out to like header pins, female header pins. So the LED strip has labeled on here 5 volts, data out, data in, whatever, and ground. So that means that for us, white, which goes to this one, so this is ground. So I'm gonna plug that into, you can use any of the grounds on the Pi. I know that this top right one here is ground, so I'm gonna use that. So the top right one right there. And then the center one is this green one, which goes to gray. So gray is data. It has to go to the GPIO 10 pin. And that is, I'm gonna have to move some things to make this clear. That is GPIO 10, so gray, which is our data line, right here. And then GPIO 10 is 2 down. So actually I need to go down a little bit more to show you. And then like this. Okay. It's 2 pins down from this yellow pin. So that would be something, something. This is GPIO 10. Okay. And then this last one, white, is, let's check the wiring. So 5 volts on the right goes to red. Red goes to white. So this is my white. We need to go to 5 volts. The bottom 2 here. So this green one is going to 3 volt 3. These 2 are 5 volts. So I'm just going to use the very bottom one. And that's how you wire in your LED strip. And then I'm going to move this back up here. And then to put it in, so now it's wired. So you have to like put it in, you know. So to put it in, I take the end here, and be careful because these can short. Like you can literally short power and ground, obviously, because this is aluminum. So I'm gonna take some tape and just like tape the end so that it can't short. So maybe just do something like this, and then like that, and then okay, now I can't short. And also, yeah. So I'm gonna like sort of slide it in so it doesn't fit like that, but if you sort of angle it like this and you sort of slide it in one by one, it goes in. And then if you keep going and you keep going, you get left with something like this, which is, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's in there. And so now it's just kind of in the extrusion. It'll look good. So when you boot up your robot for the first time, so let me turn it off. So when you press it in, that turns this off, and then obviously there's a rotate. This is an emergency stop, that's why. So if the robot goes crazy, you just hit this and it'll turn it off, and then to turn it back on, you rotate, and this is typical on like robots and machines and stuff. So to turn it on, you go like this. This will read out the voltage from the battery, and again, always make sure that nothing here is shorting. This voltage regulator module has two buttons on the bottom. The first one, if you click it once, will tell you at what point this relay shuts off, which basically like stops the power from going to this output. And so here it's set to 12. That's like the default from the factory. We need to actually like fix that because these batteries they will die if you let them, like, permanently. They'll permanently die if you let them go that low. And so we're going to configure this to 17 so that if the battery goes below 17, this will shut off and the battery will like basically stop discharging because your robot will be off and it won't kill the battery. So if you press once, you see what it's set to. And then if you give it a second, if you press twice, like quickly, like 1, 2, you can use these buttons, the left and right one, to go up and down. So I'm going to hold down the left one until it gets to 17. Okay, 17, and then let go. And then now if you check again, 17 is good. And then I'll just show you what the second one does here. The second one is like the minimum voltage above the threshold for the device to turn back on. So you can imagine, like, let's say the robot is at 17 volts, or let's say it's at 17.1, and you drive really fast and it pulls some current from the battery and the voltage lowers because of like how batteries work, and the battery drops to like 16.9 for a brief second. This will shut off, and let's say it'll stop driving because it shut off, and then the battery will go back up to its 17.1 volts. You would think that it would turn back on because now it's above 17, but you don't really want the robot to like do that because then it'll just keep turning on and off, on and off, on and off, in like a loop if it's like really close to the threshold. And so this is the threshold button, or the threshold configuration, and it's 2 volts. And that kind of makes sense, right? Like, you don't want to like have your battery just barely above like dead and then start your robot session. So that's the threshold voltage. It's set to 2, and it's set to 2, and that's fine. Like, I think 2 is fine. It means you'll have to be at least 19 volts for the robot to turn on, and that makes a good amount of sense. So that's how you configure your voltage regulator.